Okay, good afternoon. I guess we'll get started in a minute. It looks like there's a couple people outside.
They're just teachers.
Just teachers, okay. All right, great, then we'll get started now. My name is Erica Gulick. This is loud. Can everyone hear me okay? My name is Erica Gulick. I'm the senior planner with Alexandria City Public Schools. I work with and for Mignon Anthony, our chief operating officer, on different capital projects, facilities, transportation, all of that fun stuff. And we're here today to talk about the feasibility of using the existing old Patrick Henry School, just recently reconstructed, and our students moved over there in January, for you all, for your students, for Douglas MacArthur, to be able to use that site so that we can rebuild this one sooner for its original proposed timeline, rather than sticking to the extended timeline that we currently have now in our CIP. So as I said, looking at using the old Patrick Henry Elementary School to accelerate your modernization, and we think that this would allow us to reinvest that $60 million that we had planned for swing space for our elementary school modernizations into other capital needs. We have the high school project going on right now that we think we're going to need additional funds for. We have a lot of facility needs throughout the division, and so it would be great to be able to repurpose those funds as we need in our capital improvement program. So the possible timeline for you all and how this may impact Douglas MacArthur is we would have to begin the design on this right away so that we can get you moved over there as soon as possible and be able to start constructing this site. So the way that works is we would have to procure a design team to come in. They would work with you all, and definitely it would be an engaging process, as was the Patrick Henry. And we would have to bring a site plan basically to City Council and Planning Commission for approval. We're estimating that they may be in the spring to summer. And then finalize a site plan, and the Douglas MacArthur students would move fall of 2020, so that you're not moving in the middle of the year waiting on when that construction would start. So you would start your 2020 to 2021 school year over at the existing Patrick Henry building if this goes forward. And then we would work on constructing this site for probably 2 years, and that's the timeline we're looking at right now. So you would be occupying the Patrick Henry site from 2021 and into the end of the beginning of 2023. So we've been heavily engaging a lot of our Douglas MacArthur family, staff, Patrick Henry families and staff as well. We've heard some things already and we've anticipated them. So paramount to this project and certainly fundamental for us as the school division is ensuring that safety for the neighbors, the students on all of our playgrounds within our building will need to be, that's a non-negotiable for us. So we're going to make sure if this does go forward that we're able to consider the student safety kind of above all else. We'll also be looking at traffic. So we are thinking that we will need to stagger our start times for between the two schools if they're both occupying that site. We would also be looking at, because no one in Douglas MacArthur currently necessarily lives in the Patrick Henry walk zone, transportation would have to be provided for all of the Douglas MacArthur students to Patrick Henry. And so that's a significant amount of buses at that site. So we would be looking at staggering the start times. Playgrounds is because of where the existing building is. It is currently over where the turf field was supposed to be put in place. We are pursuing, and I'll get to the concept plan, but a lot of the playgrounds that were planned along the Latham Street side that I'll show you so that Patrick Henry can use those, and then using the existing Patrick Henry playground for Douglas MacArthur while their students are there. And then we know that you have Campagna and Rec after school programs here. We would do our best to be able to provide the same level of service at the new campus. So those are all things we need to consider going forward. So here's what was the final, what we're calling the final approved condition, but basically the final site plan of what Patrick Henry was supposed to be. And so you can see there's play areas over here. Those will all, if this moves forward, will all be installed per the original plan. The field will not. This white outline is where the existing building is. We do anticipate that we will have to tear down the rec center, which is this portion in the back, in order to provide access throughout the site and additional parking for staff and for visitors and parents. So what that may look like might be something like this. So you can see you have separate bus drop-offs. We would try to provide one loop around the site. Because of our emergency vehicle easement access requirements, we would have to bring this all the way around and provide basically the same access as originally planned. We'd be able to get these play spaces in, hopefully some additional parking there. This is the play area for the existing building. And so that's the current concept that we're looking at right now. And so again, just to reiterate why this is being considered, the old Patrick Henry is a working school. It does have some improvements that will need to be made before you all move in there, and those are things that we'll use the next year while you're still here. Pursuing at that site. So interior and exterior improvements. It'll allow your new school to be done 2 years earlier. So we know this school is not in its best condition. We know we have classrooms without windows in the school, and we would be able to mitigate a lot of those things with the new school. And we know you're also way overcrowded here. And then it would also, as I mentioned earlier, allow us to reinvest that $60 million into other school capital needs rather than spending it on swing space at this time. And overall, our main goal is to find the best option for everyone in the community and be able to get the best out of our capital improvement program and the best for all of our students. And with that, so here is a survey you can take online, and please tell your friends. We're trying to get as much feedback as we can in the next couple of weeks while we try to pursue a decision on whether or not we're going to tear down that building, because if we are, we need to move forward. And then we're also having the citywide community meeting tonight. You're all here now, so we don't anticipate you giving us all of your evening, but if you are free, please feel free to join us at Polk Elementary. And with that, we're going to take questions and comments. I would ask that you come up to the mic and state your question and comment, and if we can all be respectful of everybody else while they talk, that'd be great.
Hello. Are we on? Sort of simple, quick. People here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Bill Pfister, your PTA president. Just want to throw a couple thoughts out there. I'll be brief because the goal here is really to hear your thoughts and concerns, but I want to throw out some things that have come up that we've talked about. First, I want to thank Superintendent Ms. Mignon, who is our Chief Operating Officer, and all of ACPS staff. They've been doing a lot of work lately. What wasn't stressed terribly here was there's a ticking clock. So the firm that has been doing the construction has a contractual obligation to tear down, and I'm probably saying this incorrectly, but the first week of April, we need to tell them whether they're tearing down the old Patrick Henry or not. So that's why there's this clock. And so it seems like we're getting this information late, but honestly, the school, I didn't know about it till last Wednesday. The school's been working behind the scenes to try and get to a solution that works, and they've been working long hours to get there, and they weren't able to tell us about it till Wednesday. Principals have also been engaged in this and aware and trying to figure out how we can make the solution work. So that's why it feels like we're hearing about it late in the day. But there really is a quick timeline that we have to respond to. And what that looks like is the school board has to say, yes, you can proceed researching this, or no, it deals off. So that has to happen, the very beginning of April. So that things can proceed or not. So that's why we're cramming all this stuff in here, having community meetings back to back. Patrick Henry meeting was last night, 2 for MacArthur, and then community meeting. So I also want to continue thanking a few other people. The city has been great. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have had this relationship between the superintendent, maybe a little bit more, but superintendent and the city manager, and city council and school board. Everyone's working together, and that's the way it should be, to try and get to a solution, a workable solution. The school board has a hard decision in front of them. This is not going to be an easy one. I'll tell you that Patrick Henry has a lot of reservations, and I'll touch on those really briefly. So we want to be really considerate of them, but also the school board. We've got 5 new members. It's going to be a challenging decision for them. So the more that we can help them understand our concerns, the better off everyone will be. And also want to thank the Patrick Henry community. So they've been through a long construction process. They thought that they were going to have everything finished this year, have a new school, new playground, and now we've just introduced the possibility that may not happen. And if we do move in, we're going to be their guests. We're going to be right next to them in their neighborhood. Yeah, they're one neighborhood over, but it's still where they live, and we're going to be driving through their streets. So we have to be considerate and respectful that there is a lot of emotion and stress that they're going through, and we have it too, but not as strongly because we're coming into their backyard and they thought they were done, and we're introducing this possibility that they may not be. So the short of it is the PTA board does support moving forward with this. We think it's the best idea to get a new school. Best plan is the only one that's actually on the books right now that's feasible. Everything else would be longer or not as much certainty. We know it's in the CIP, but there's no guarantee it will actually happen. This one, I can see how the logical steps of how it would actually take place and get done. The timing's great. It moves things up. Right now, we're projected to be 2025, I think, open. And here this could be, and there's some question about is construction 24 months, 36, 30, somewhere in that. So it may be a little bit longer. It may be up to 3 years, I've heard. I'm not an expert, but just ballparking. So it may be a little bit longer, but at least it gets started. And then behind us, we also have George Mason and Port Kelly that need to be rebuilt at some point in the future. This can help free up, attention so that those can be addressed earlier too, as opposed to waiting for MacArthur to get in later. In the budget, as mentioned, $60 million. It may not save $60 million, but it may reduce some pressure such that the school board can focus on other issues because they've got a big TC project coming up and several others. A couple challenges you saw listed. Erica mentioned up there. Short timeline. It is, but we're working under external factors. Feel like the decision's already been reached. It absolutely hasn't. School board gets to vote on this. They haven't voted on anything. It's completely. If everyone in MacArthur said they hated it, everyone in the city said they hated it, the school board wouldn't do it. It's in Patrick Henry. They just wouldn't. So there's still an opportunity to weigh in, and your feedback really matters. And I think the positive feedback also matters because there will be a lot of negative sentiment out there, and the more that we can balance that out, the better off we'll all be. We also, as we go through this, want to engage constructively because there is a lot of emotion tied to this. So the more that we can listen and hear what other people are saying and try and figure out a solution that is at least acceptable, because we're all going to have to give a little in this. It's not the perfect path. The perfect path costs $100 million, and we don't have that. We don't have the land to do it either. So we're all going to have to compromise a little bit, but for the greater good. So what are we asking? Constructive engagement. Here, right now, let us know your thoughts. Do the survey, write to your school board. And we'll circulate links for all these things for you to make it easy. Talk with us so that we have some understanding of what your issues are. ACPS is really funneling all this stuff in, and they're really listening. We're trying to figure out, okay, if you have really big opposition or concerns, let's figure out how to address them. And they're moving very quickly. But I will say, from everything I've seen, they're trying to adapt to everything they hear as they move along and incorporate those thoughts. So with that, thank you all for coming out, showing interest in this, and love to hear from anyone who has thoughts and concerns.
You can come up, and while you're coming up, I just wanted to clarify the timeline. And the current construction timeline that we're seeing, or the amount of time that you would be in the old Patrick Henry, would extend from September 2020 and through really November, December 2022. Because part of this is committing to a timeline to get Patrick Henry to its final condition, and we intend to do that by September 2023. So we need you guys out of there, and it would be a winter break move, but we would plan more for it than we were able to for Patrick Henry, and be able to have that building constructed earlier, so all the teachers and the staff can move through December in the regular schedule, and then have a clean move that January.
Thank you for your work. Can you talk a little bit about how this would affect the school day? You've got so many students packed into a small space in terms of school start, school end. Is recess going to work? How's it going to play out? Some of the details.
So we don't have all the details figured out yet, but we do understand that those are significant concerns. I know Ms. Covey and Ms. Bynum intend, if this goes forward, to work very closely together. And I will say that Patrick Henry, during its time during construction, had access to that playground and was able to make it work with roughly the same student population. So I do think there will be some challenges and some compromises, but that we'll be able to make it work, and that recess will still be an ongoing thing that we're committed to.
Just really quick, so we'll be there for 3 years, 4 years, 3 full academic years?
You'll be there for 2 years and a fall.
But the one clarification on that is, this delays Patrick Henry by an extra year because they need to get the swing space up to speed before we move in. So even though we see 2 or 2 years, they see an extra year for getting the old building ready for us.
And then demolishing the building as well before we can put the fields in for them and get it all complete. So we call it a 4-year timeline for them because that's the impact that's going to have on Patrick Henry. I just also want to talk to the auditorium and rec space. Do you want to direct instead? Possibilities for gym space and how we organize
Sure.
all day?
So what we're currently looking at too is we would, as I mentioned before, we would have to tear down their current gym to be able to provide the access throughout the site. So we are looking at converting the existing auditorium into a gymnasium and making sure that that space is available for any other play or other activities that need to go on in the school, including after-school programs.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, so thank you. So you say that halfway through, so during the winter break of 2022, I think, the kids will be coming back to here, but has the school thought through, if it's not complete here, that's halfway through my son's last year, and I don't know how critical that is, being that, what happens if things aren't going to plan and they need to get out of where they are, but they can't come back here because it's not finished.
So that's certainly a concern that we always have in construction, so thank you for bringing that up, and we'll be sure to document it. I would note that with Patrick Henry, we had a little bit of slip due to all the rain we had in the fall, and we moved in over Martin Luther King Day weekend, which is not ideal, and we're hoping we built enough time into the schedule to not have that happen in Douglas MacArthur.
Just a couple of questions or thoughts, and just on with the increased people needing to be bused from MacArthur to the new area, or is ACPS looking at buying or renting additional buses, or how to handle the overcrowding with more students taking buses? Also, with 2 schools being there now, I know you talked about safety, but just evac procedures in case they needed. They practice that a lot here, and I'm sure in other schools, and the students just understanding that as well. And you talked about the staggered bus schedules or the start times. My daughter in particular is getting on the bus now in the morning when it's dark and just trying to figure out those start times for them, as well as any investments that are going to be made also for the new swing space and where that's going forward in the future. Thank you.
So we'll take those as concerns, and they have come up. Definitely emergency evacuation needs to be something we think about. We are looking at expanding our bus fleet. We do have some funds for that in our capital improvement program to do that. 2 other things. The improvements in the building, right? So as I mentioned, converting the auditorium, it would basically get a full facelift, repaint all of our students and teachers there, knowing it would be demolished. Did a lot of signing on the walls and things like that before they left. So we will be repainting and making sure we get it up to be a working school. Cleaning, any HVAC or roof repair, any of those kind of things that we think we need to do to be able to extend its life 4 years, we'll be doing as well.
Did you say anything with the staggered bus schedules?
How it would work, so we haven't figured out exactly what those times would be. We're going to go through an amendment to or an addendum to our original traffic study for Patrick Henry, figure out the best working solution for that.
Because that bus schedule is going to have to go with GW, TC, Minnie Howard. I'm going to have 4 kids in 4 different places at this time. So I think that bus study needs to look at the school, the whole, not just Patrick Henry and MacArthur.
Yeah, the start times for this situation, as well as some other of the district, is actually being looked at by the superintendent. So this is one staggered situation, but we're also looking at bell times throughout the district. So you may have broader than just this to look at, and there'll be an input time for that. But that process hasn't really started. But what we know is that we're going to have to do 2 different bell times for this. We're just going to have to do it, because bringing, you know, this population over to that area is either going to have to be before them or after them.
If you were to answer, do you think it would be an earlier start and then the current time holds, or is it going to be later? When we're thinking about people, I mean, I work from home, so it doesn't matter, but people are having to get to work. If it's going to be later, you have to drop your kid off at 8:30, then you're going to have to find, you know, a lot of pink slips for people.
Yeah, we're looking at, but we, you know, I think one of the important things to say too, as Bill was mentioning, is that we did some preliminary can it happen calculations with the city and with the contractor and with our experts, our professionals, and that's really where we are, and coming up with some basic assumptions, like we've got to look at the bell times. Transportation has already, matter of fact, transportation was the one who drove, you got to do a staggered bell time. You've got to do at least a half an hour earlier or 45 minutes after. And so we're looking at both, and the impact specifically, because they're the ones that then have to go to the other secondary schools, et cetera. So that's why we're trying to get everybody's, like, what are the showstoppers that people think both on the Patrick Henry side and here, so that school board can make a decision to tell us to do the real planning, you know, do a real architectural plan, do a real site planning, do all the schedule planning, you know, and in the detail we have to do it, the emergency evac planning and those things.
Just 2 questions. 2 questions. Is the MacArthur going to remain a K through 5, or is it going to mirror sort of like Jeffrey Houston was?
There's no plan to change the grade configuration as of now.
Okay. The other question is, you mentioned Campagna and Rec was undecided. Is it just that it would be potentially merged with the Patrick Henry group, or would they be bused to another location?
So we're going to try and see if we can accommodate it in the building that Douglas MacArthur would be in. Campagna did use that cafeteria for their after-school program previously, and we're hoping that converting the auditorium to a gymnasium would allow us to also have a rec program.
I guess I have more of a comment, and that's with this timeline. We're hearing a lot. We could, we should, we hope. We're talking about rec, we're talking about start times, we're talking about all this stuff. But you say April 1st is kind of like a make or break time. The design's not done. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's enough time for people to actually go through their decision-making process. I mean, you're talking 11 days. It's the first that we've heard of it. I mean, I don't buy a car in 11 days. I don't know what time my kids are going to be picked up. I don't know where they're going after school. There's so many things, and the answers are all, we hope, we could, we should, we may. And I don't think anyone here should be making a decision based on those kind of things. So that's just my comment. I think more time is needed, or the design should be pitched. I mean, it's just really quick.
It is. And again, as Bill had mentioned, we didn't even really consider this option until this past winter. And it really was in support of some decisions that we had to make about not having swing space for another school in the division that was having a significant problem. We were concerned about where would we put that school. We looked at every commercial building that was vacant. We looked at every way that we could, and I'm talking about Mount Vernon. That's sort of how we started going down this path. Before we move forward with phase 3 of Patrick Henry, which is demolish the building, the city and us had to ask ourselves, we're getting ready to demolish the working building. Are we all sure that we're, that our fiscal responsibility, and that we've looked at, maybe it was talked about a couple of years ago. I mean, I think it was talked about 4 years ago. And the decision was made not to do that for a lot of different reasons, but we haven't started any planning on a new swing space school, which again is, the pressure to, let's see if we can move up Douglas MacArthur. And as Bill was saying, almost guarantee that you're going to get the money, that this isn't going to move again, that we can use an existing asset. Those were the things that we were considering. We know that it's fast and it's unfair. Now remember though, that the city council is not going to see the final plans and all the things that you mentioned. Those have to be in place in order for us to go back to permitting and for city council to approve it in the fall. So we wanted to get to a point where we felt that it was doable and that the assumptions that we would use could actually work. And that's really where we are right now. And that's why we're coming and saying, give us the comments to give back to the school board to decide whether we will continue to suspend the contract for under and don't have them tear down the building, which will then give us time to do all of the architectural plans, all the scheduled details, all of the details. And we have to do that in order to go back for the development special use permit in order to even go forward. So, shame on us if we get to city council in the fall and all of the things that you're asking for, the emergency of that procedures, how we get 1,500 children on this site and make the traffic work, and where city has some things to respond to with regard to traffic and street controls and intersections and crossing guards and all of those things. They're going to have to answer all of that. But so I just, we're here to just tell you that we've done the work that we could do in the short period of time that we had to answer a question.
I mean, I understand from what you said, you all have been having a dialogue about this. And that's great. But you're having a dialogue, you're trying to figure out the X's and O's and the movements of traffic and buildings and things like that. You're telling us we have 11 days to have a dialogue with ourselves about our children. It's completely different. I mean, it's not enough time. I just don't see how you say, yeah, I'm for it, when I don't even know, where's my kid going to rec? What time's the bus coming? I mean, my kid's already in a class with 30 kids, one of my kids. You're asking to process a lot of stuff to give you input when I don't know what we're inputting. I don't know the specifics. I mean, I just find it to be just way too short to get the input from parents for real. You can get input from architects, if they can do what they want, or traffic designers. They can work that way. It's a little bit harder with people with lots of children in different schools all around the city. I just find it to be really just not enough time.
This kind of follows up on the comments that are being made right now. Is there a design team in place to get going, like immediately, if this is approved? Just given the tight timeline and that if we're gonna do this and rebuild the school, we wanna make sure that it's really thoughtfully planned out for the new school, and I wouldn't want it to be rushed in designing this school. So if this is approved, is there an architect, design team ready to go? And what would the process look like with the parents if this was approved as far as planning out the new school? So we are hoping for all of the work that needs to be done at the existing Patrick Henry, that we can use the existing architect. So we're currently looking into getting proposals on that. We can't procure an architect team for Douglas MacArthur until we know that it's a project and are able to dedicate funds to it. But it will have to happen as soon as this moves forward. We'll have to put a RFP out, a request for proposals out in April to be able to get it, to achieve the timeline. And then one more follow-up. What are the other proposed swing spaces if this doesn't work? So currently there are none. If this doesn't work, we would stick to the timeline in the capital improvement program, which would require us to potentially build or acquire another site to build for swing space for Douglas MacArthur.
Can I just sort of add to the question about engagement of just want to add to the question about engagement of families around design. So we would use the same process as we use for the Patrick Henry School, where we set up an advisory committee made up of civic association members, of PTA members, of parents, of community members at large, and also maybe board members and city council members as well, to make sure that we have advisors in place who can report back to the community and bring concerns to the community. That's how we function when we do a design on a project. However, we can't press go on that until we have a decision on this, as whether we're moving ahead or not.
One of the things that I'm struggling with is this feeling of loss of a neighborhood school, which I think has a lot of implications for community building and parent involvement. And even though it's only short term, for some of us it may be the remainder of our child's elementary school years. And so that's a little bit difficult. And so some of the, I guess, part of the eastern and northeastern MacArthur borders are much closer to other neighborhood schools. And so I would ask you all to consider allowing families to transfer, just to think about that in your planning.
Thank you.
Hi there, I just have a question about the old Patrick Henry School. So we're in an aging building now, set to rebuild. This building is set to be demolished in April. And knowing the mold issues that are going on in Mount Vernon, are there any safety concerns using a building that's about ready to be demolished that we don't know about with our kids going there? I know there's talk that there would have to be some work done to the building to let our kids go there, but are there any underlying issues with the building and its safety for the kids to go there?
Like leaks?
So at this time, we don't see any safety issues for students, and any roof patching would be completed so that there are no leaks, that we aren't having issues. We do have to replace some ceiling tiles in the building. We will have to make some upgrades. We will be having it totally assessed to make sure that it is a completely safe environment. But at this time, this building is 10 years younger than Douglas MacArthur. So it's certainly not in worse condition than you are in now.
How long has it been vacant
Since January.
of this year?
January of this year.
Yeah, it had students in it until 3 months ago.
So my question is, we're talking about, we've heard a lot about the $60 million that we're going to make by doing this, but we are also talking about other schools who need to have a swing space. So this may help us right now in this time frame with our school, but how, I don't understand how it would save money in the long run if we're going to have to do the same type of finding a swing space for Mount Vernon School, for George Mason School, so I'm trying to figure out how that is going to look in the long run, not just the immediate, this is going to help MacArthur now, but how is it going to help all of our other ACPS schools?
Thank you for that comment. So we're looking at being able to build George Mason and Cora Kelly on their existing site. We're going to do a feasibility study to determine if that is possible. Even if we determine that it's not possible or it's not something that we want to pursue, those schools have 300 less students than Douglas MacArthur, and so finding a space for them is much more feasible, costly, all of those things, to be able to do that in the future.
Two things. First, can you remind me of what the alternative plan is in terms of years waiting here, and then, if I understood earlier that there is no actual plan, that you have a workable plan now for finding a swing space, is that right?
So there's not much available for a swing space. We've looked at, you may know, we've looked at using the Lee Center previously. We decided that was not a good option. When we found Ferdinand Day, we only really had 4 sites that we were looking at that time, and that was the only one that we determined was really suitable for a school. So there's just not much in the city of Alexandria. With regard to the timeline, this would advance you to be able to move into a new Douglas MacArthur built to the educational specification, built to the capacity that you need in January of 2023. And the alternative, as outlined in the school board's capital improvement program, would not move you into a new school for 2 years later, till 2025.
And then the second question is there any consideration for, this school right now, the playground has boarded up, slides and stuff. I mean, it seems fairly dangerous out there now. Is there something we're going to do about that today?
We can. Mr. Pfizer had us review the playground a couple of months ago when we thought it was going to stay for a while. We had an assessment done, and we got bids, and it was about $100,000 to upgrade or replace the playground. I had the staff look at it over the last couple of days and determine what we could do to remove the access to the bad parts, replace those. I think we can get away with something significantly less than that. But the kids are going to have to be here for another year or so, so we need to fix the safety areas and give them access to the parts that we got work on. So we're going to try to do something that makes sense cost-wise, but also repairs the safety, addresses the safety issues, and gives them a place to play properly.
If this school wasn't an option 4 years ago, you said, what were the reasons that it wasn't an option and now it is an option?
Yeah. Want to answer that?
So I would just say that when we had all of the issues at Mount Vernon, we brought this back up as we really needed an emergency space for some of our schools if we are ever in that circumstance again. And so that's when the discussion started. And while we were looking at it, we said, hey, we really think this may be a feasible option. We don't need the school anymore for Mount Vernon. And city manager conveyed interest in us exploring this option further for Douglas MacArthur.
But he's asking why 4 years ago?
I think just different leadership, different political will. It wasn't explored.
Hi, this is more of just a comment. When was Douglas MacArthur supposed to originally be rebuilt? I'm just so surprised that there's no plan B or plan C. This isn't a sudden, like, Douglas MacArthur needs to be built this year. It has been needed to be built for a long time. How is there not a plan B or a plan C? How do we, as a nurse, I have to put in my schedule request 2 months ahead of time. How are we supposed to make this decision in 11 days when for years Douglas MacArthur is supposed to be given a new school? So just a comment. Thank you.
I mean, I applaud trying to think out of the box. I don't like to stand in front of people.
I'm sorry, can you?
I don't like to stand in front of people.
Okay.
So, but I do want to be heard. Saving $60 million bucks. I mean, I agree. That's not chump change. I just hope that we're not rushing to save a bunch of money, and it's going to cost our kids. You know, because if they're not in an environment where they can learn, this is a pivotal time. You know, early education is the best time to get the children, get good habits. And if we rush into this into 11 days, and I don't mean to pile on, but hopes and, I mean, I hope too, but I mean, we're talking about aftercare, we're talking about, I hope we can get them all there. I mean, I watched last night, and the people over there are not too happy about this as well. I mean, it's going to double the amount of traffic. They only have one crossing guard there, as I understand. So, I mean, it's a big hill to climb, and I have to agree with you, sir, that 11 days to make a decision. I mean, ultimately, it's your decision. It's, we're just inputting. I have my concerns about it as well. But I appreciate your hard work.
Hi, I'm Margaret Lorber. I'm one of your 3 District B school board representatives, so weighing this decision, and I wanted to respond to the most recent question about Plan B. There definitely is a Plan B, and the reason we were so anxious to move ahead with this is because the Plan B is what is currently in our capital improvement plan, which is put MacArthur off yet more time. We know that MacArthur, in fact, when I was elected to the school board 1 term ago in 2015, my understanding was MacArthur was already really delayed, and that we were supposed to get MacArthur a new building. And then the city schools financial fiscal task force was formed and came up with a very interesting blueprint for how the city and the school system could work better together to plan facilities, build facilities, and in trying to meet the recommendations that they made when we issued our following capital improvement plan, we ended up, their advice was move the high school up because that money is available, and you know, you've done the research, you know the statistics. As far as the elementary schools, they felt we hadn't done enough due diligence to figure out swing space, basically. And so they said, look, you know, we'll put in, just give yourselves a little more time to find swing space, build. So there's money in the budget for swing space, there's money in the budget for land. So if we didn't do this, we'd go ahead with, the plan B is to go ahead with building MacArthur on the schedule that's established in the CIP, so we end up getting built 2 years later. This whole year, for anyone who's listened to our meetings, or since January, there's been an undercurrent of, what can we do to move MacArthur up? And this is way before we knew about the Patrick Henry. What can we do to move MacArthur up? Our school board liaison from MacArthur kept raising this point, and so when this was, this idea came up, it seemed like an interesting solution. And what I would say is, I don't think you're being asked to make the specific decisions right now. I think you're being asked in the same way that we were asked, can the administration move ahead and look into the feasibility of this? So we voted yes, and they moved ahead and started seeing what would it require. They talked to the contractor to ask, you know, if we were to change your whole order and say, we don't want you to tear, you know, if we're going to change our plan, what's it going to cost us? So they did all the sort of cost-benefit analysis, came back and said, well, let's get this out to the community and see, since we think this could go through, but let's find out from people what their basic reactions are. I think the idea is, if the MacArthur, what you're being asked really about is, do you want the school to be, the schedule to be moved up 2 years, and are you willing to do the things that it would take, such as your kids riding buses for a couple of years instead, you know, not having your neighborhood school? That was a very interesting suggestion someone mentioned about option. You know, we're looking for things that will make people more comfortable with this decision. So there have been lots of suggestions made, and I think the school board's going to take, and the administration will take every step they can to incorporate the different suggestions that people come up with. But I think the real specifics are going to come down the pike later, and you'll have a voice in those specifics, such as after-school program, before-school program. Yes, if one school, if one school starts 45 minutes to an hour later, clearly the one that starts late will need, some of the parents will need before school, okay? And that will be arranged. So we aren't really asking for a decision about the details. It's really, and I agree, it's still rushed. I mean, it is clearly rushed. It was rushed on us as well. But it looked to us like a feasible, you know, if we can fly, if we can make it work, MacArthur gets their school sooner, and we put off destroying, you know, the end of Patrick Henry for a few more years. So anyway, that I just wanted to sort of respond to you.
I just want to reiterate another suggestion another parent made. I know I personally live on the border of school district. There is, MacArthur Elementary School is 4 times the distance away as the closest one to my house. There's one right next to my house, but I'm on the other side of the street. So my kid has to come all the way here, which is fine. This is his neighborhood school, their neighborhood school. But now you're talking about moving them even, maybe, geez, another 4 times away, farther. When I have a school, it's a quarter mile down the block from my house. I really think that people who live on the borders, if everyone's making sacrifices, then we should be able to opt into a neighborhood school that's right next to our house, instead of busing our children, you know, 15 miles away, 10 miles away. It's just, I understand that the other schools might not, you know, want to do that, but I mean, I definitely think that everyone's going to have to pull if that's the way it's going to go. And I don't see any reason why I've got it. Just because I live on this side of the street and I have a school right across the street, now I have to bus my kid not all the way up here, now I have to bus my kid all the way down there. So I definitely think going forward that has to be talked about, because there are a lot of families that live closer to other schools that are on the border.
Good suggestion. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say hello first and foremost. I'm Dr. Hutchins, Superintendent of Schools. I had another meeting, so I apologize I'm a little late for this session, but I was able to follow some of this on Facebook Live, which was great. And I saw it was still going on, so I got in the car and came over here. But I do want to first, let me just say this. There is a plan B, and Ms. Laura, she was able to explain, so I didn't have to even, you said everything I was going to say. So thank you. We're in sync, Ms. Laura. So one thing I do want to just reiterate, there is a plan B. You know, the plan B is the original plan, which is that Douglas MacArthur would be built to open in 2025. And with that original plan, we were going to have to find, or we are, if that becomes still the plan, we're going to have to find swing space. And the swing space is not going to be here regardless, right? Because we cannot build another school while this school is in existence. So regardless of whether it's this plan or another plan, there is going to be some movement of kids somewhere. And that's happening at any of our schools that we have to have swing space for to build. Fortunately, right now, based on our feasibility, but we haven't gotten the final results on the other schools that are going to be rebuilt, those areas have enough land that they can actually build a school while the old structure is there, and we won't need that swing space for them. But Douglas MacArthur is not one of those locations. So whether we stick with the current plan, which is 2025, or we go with this innovative plan of trying to use an old building that we have to use it as swing space for our kids, we are going to still have to have swing space that will not be here at this location. Where that location will be, we don't know, because a part of the CIP with the swing space that was in the original plan, there is no location where that is. So we would have to go find where that place would be. We can't guarantee it's going to be in this area. We can't guarantee it's going to be around here because you can only find it where, you know, land is available to build on or space is available to retrofit to make it a school. So I just wanted to reiterate to everyone that, you know, the plan B is the original plan and that the original plan still requires swing space that's not located here. So we would still have to move somewhere for a couple of years while the new building is going to be built. Whether it's now or in the future, that is still going to be required for us to do.
Can you address what kind of feedback you're actually looking for out of this meeting? Because it's a little confusing. 11 days, we don't really have anything to react to. I haven't really, I haven't heard like that you're saying, oh, you know, your student's life, school life will change in this way and it won't change in the other way. I've just heard a little bit about busing and all that. So it doesn't seem like we've been, I don't know what that question is. What are you asking us?
So really what we were asking for is the we're trying to gauge the reaction from our community. What are people's issues with this plan if we move forward with it? What are concerns that people have from the community's perspective? We can share our perspective, but we're not the individuals who are actually impacted by the decision. And what we're trying to get from or gauge from all of our different, whether it's the Patrick Henry community or the Douglas MacArthur community or the community meeting that's happening later on today, it's what are people's reactions to this concept, to this being a possibility, so then we can dig a little deeper. And out of this, I mean, honestly, some things have come up that we just haven't discussed, you know, out of people's reactions. So really that's what we're seeking. How do people react and respond to the concept?
So I appreciate there are a number of stakeholders all around the city, the other school, et cetera, but from our school's perspective, can you maybe give your best understanding? I mean, you guys have studied the alternative plan, right? Not this plan, but the 2025 plan. And you've probably done some imaginations about what the swing space could be. And if you don't have one nailed down, like, does that mean that, you know, if like the gentleman that says he's going to be, you know, moved this far further, is it the alternative plan to be moved 3 times that we would have to, you know, I mean, to be extreme, like your swing space is in DC, or it could be at Patrick Henry? I mean, can you give some idea of what our alternatives are? Because it seems like don't know what that would be. I mean, Patrick Henry's reusable space is tangible. We can drive by there and look at it. But give us an imagination of what the alternative is.
I can tell you that in our original plan of trying to open the school in 2025, we would not be looking at feasibility of where we're going to put a building in 2019. So we're not at that, we wouldn't be at that point right now. We wouldn't be looking at where is this school going to be located. But what I can tell you is that as we are looking at the high school project, like the Connected High School Network that we've been talking about over the past several months. We are surveying different areas throughout the entire city of Alexandria that has locations that can accommodate a large structure, right? So we do have an idea of different land sites where you can actually build on. I can guarantee that no place is right here in this neighborhood. You all live in the neighborhood, so you all know too. There's no place that we're going to build a structure that's going to accommodate 700 students. That's any walking distance to anybody around here. So we are going to have to find a location, which we have not found a location, and we shouldn't have found a location yet because in the original plan, it's 2025, and we wouldn't start looking until about 2021 and 2022 when we have the dollars to look for that, because you have to pay this to survey land as well, and that's not in our budget to do that today. But I just wanted to make the point. I can't answer the question as to where the location would be in our original plan, but it won't be in this proximity.
Can you give an idea of like what would a temporary space that you're build? Because it feels like, really? You're going to build a temporary school and then abandon it?
So the goal in the original plan wasn't to build a temporary school and abandon it. The temporary school down the road was going to be the swing space for every school that we were planning to renovate. So for example, Core Kelly is another school that's going to be rebuilt. So that would then end up being swing space. George Mason is another school that has to be rebuilt over the next 10 years. So all this is over the next 10 years. So that swing space we were going to invest in would end up being swing space for other schools, and then also turning into, in our original plan, a middle school or a middle school grades or whatever it was going to be used for once all those renovations were done. Okay. So that structure was going to continue on to eventually be another school for ACPS in the future, but it would be used as swing space in the meantime. And we don't know what may come about. Let's say 5 years from now, we're looking at our CIP. There could be other schools that are then in the track. Right now, we're just looking at our 10-year plan, and there's only 3 schools in our 10-year CIP currently. That could change, in the future.
And I'll add a little bit to that. When we started looking at this, Erica and I visited. We had our real estate consultant take us to Alexandria Economic Development Partnership. Visit every development lease space in Alexandria that had enough space for, at that time, we were looking at the number for Mount Vernon, which is 900 students. And so we visited every lease space to see if it could be used for a school, what the site would look like, what it could contain, if it could, have playgrounds or whatever. A lot of people asked us to just put up some, additional relocatables. For 700 kids, that's not, and then you don't get the playgrounds and stuff like that. So as Dr. Hutchings was mentioning, for a school this size, we'd need about 5 to 7 acres. This is we'd be looking for enough space that would accommodate, that much at one time at a minimum. So up to 10 acres is really about what you really ideally would look like. And one other thing I'll mention is if we do have to go back and do the, where would a swing space that ends up becoming a permanent space come, how would that, the location for that, of course, would be a lot more specific. We'd have to centrally locate it or try to centrally locate it so it could accommodate whatever use we need for the city. So it probably wouldn't be on that side of town or on this side of town. So there's kind of no telling where that might end up being. So I know that that's maybe not that helpful, but it lets you know that we have been looking and we have been out there. It's not like we hadn't done any work to find swing space alternatives. I think we've pretty much eliminated without a whole bunch of investment where we could. We've looked at actual empty buildings that we could turn into a school, and this alternative seemed like one that we need to explore and exhaust before we do anything else. That's really where we are, is exhaust all the possibilities before making another turn in a direction.
I just have a
quick question. I don't know if Ms. Cubby is still here, but I'm really concerned about what the teachers feel about this, because if we're just, this is a building, our kids can go in any building, but if our teachers are not happy with this, then that's going to make unhappy teachers, and not learning is not going to happen. So that's really where I'm more concerned about, is just I wanted to know what the teachers' input were. Are they, yes, let's do this to get our new school, or how do they feel about it?
Because right here, we talked to staff. Okay, we talked to the staff a couple of days ago. They, you know, they had really the same concerns you all had. They wanted to make sure that what was going to happen to the old school, how was it going to be refurbished, what were some of the plans of the things that we had hoped to do with it. It was, you know, they're still, I think, absorbing it. It's probably going to take everybody a few days to understand and to think about it and to get back to us. That's why we want to give you options for feedback. But the teachers were fairly positive from the faculty members that were here. Would you characterize that the same?
Yeah.
It was me. You weren't here, were you?
I was here.
Okay.
But I think
I didn't remember. We've done so many of these.
Yeah. I think they see one benefit is that there's certainly some challenges, but they see some opportunities for collaboration and professional development and things like that between the staffs.
Parking, they're concerned about parking.
And they see certainty behind actually getting a new school eventually.
Right.
Because that 2025 is a marker. It is conceptual, this is tangible. Where that 2025 has been pushed back. Crystal's kids are a little bit older, so yeah.
And all the classrooms have windows.
All the classrooms have windows.
Thank you guys for allowing us this opportunity. I just wanted to speak. I was sitting here and I was thinking, should I say something? Well, I've been at this school. My son is getting ready to go in high school. So I've been here 10 years. I was PTA president. I fought this fight years and years and years. That's where Bill and I first, he was on my board. And if I could just fast forward to this day, we fought for swing space. And they told us at that time, it's not going to get approved. There's no way MacArthur is getting a new school. This is after challenge after challenge after challenge. And we were told it was going to be 2025. And that was in, I think my son might have been in 5th grade now. My daughter was in kindergarten at the time. She now will possibly be graduating in 5th grade. So she won't get to see this new school. I think at a certain point, we have to understand best laid plans. Obviously, we would want to have ample time to absorb it. But we have been fighting this fight for years and years, and for me, it's kind of bittersweet because we won't get to see the benefit of new school. And my daughter's a walker; she walks every day, and my son will be graduating from high school when this school is actually formed. So I just want to say, best laid plans, but we have been fighting this for a very, very, very long time. So I know the 11 days sounds unreasonable, but it's really not. Like I said, I've been here since 2008, and we've been suffering for a very long time with lots of classrooms with no windows. So but thank you all. And this is 3 superintendents. I've lived through actually 4 superintendents. So I've had this discussion with at least 4 superintendents. So thank you for your leadership. Yep.
So just to simplify it for me, because I'm from Kentucky, so we've got 2 choices. We have the bird in hand here, but we have a lot of things as parents we're concerned about. Got a kid, you're concerned. Say, or we can say, this is too fast. I'm not going to risk my kid's safety, sucking in black mold or, whatever. And I'm going to wait for 2025. And that may not happen because it's been promised for that long. So I think the thinking is that here's a proposal, it's not perfect, you can take it, or if you really are concerned for your kid's safety or well-being or learning or whatnot, you can wait, and in 2025 you'll build a swing school somewhere in the center. It'll be safe, it'll be modern, your kid will be able to go to school safely if that happens. Is that really the 2 choices?
Somewhat. Let me just tell you why. Because I think that it's important just as our parents are concerned about the safety of their kids, so are the schools. So that is at the top of our list as well. So we're not going to take our students and put them into an environment that's going to be unsafe, knowingly do that. Like we're not going to do that. we wouldn't be in this business if we did that, right?
Not for long.
You know, not for long. We wouldn't still be around, ACPS.
You'd be the fifth.
We all would have a fifth superintendent. But so I think it's important for our families to know that we want to do what's safe for our young people. That's another reason why we want to take the full year of being able to do some upkeep. We're not going to make the old Patrick Henry brand new, right? Because we know it's going to be torn down. We don't want to do that. But we do want to ensure that it's going to be a safe learning environment for our kids, that we're taking the feedback from Patrick Henry community, because they get to experience the traffic over at Patrick Henry already. And I'm going to be visiting Patrick Henry at 7:15, 8:15, like the parent told us yesterday, right? I didn't get to go this morning because I dropped Gregory off. But I am going to make my way over to see what the traffic pattern looks like. But we have to keep in mind that a part of this year will allow us to change that traffic pattern too. Like, we're going to be able to make adjustments to accommodate the two schools being on one campus. And that's the goal. It's not to do everything that's exactly as is now. The space over there is not going to look exactly how it is now, with a part of the planning that may need to occur. So if we do this, one, the rec, and I'm sure Mr. Anthony already mentioned this, that the rec has to be torn down and the old auditorium will have to be changed to multi-purpose space. We have to find additional parking and make additional parking over there to accommodate, two staffs in two different buildings, as well as the cars and the buses. So there's a lot of work that's going to happen between now and the time, Douglas MacArthur students would arrive in that school. And safety is always at the top of our list. So I think that, what we're asking is, if we don't do this option, right, this is a very innovative option. If we don't do the innovative option now, we can go back to the original plan, and the original plan is 2025. But I know that I've heard from the Douglas MacArthur community quite often in just 7 months, right, about what we need to do for this school and what's taking so long, and you promised, and and now we're trying to come up with an innovative way, which also does inconvenience another community too. And I think that we need to be very empathetic to that, and we're trying to be as well. And I know that you all will be too if this happens, because we are now going to keep a space they thought was going to go away, and they're going to have the fields for 4 more years, right? So, but we're trying to gauge, is the implications from this decision, is it worth doing, right? What is the negative impact that this can have on our community as a whole? And I think that even if we had swing space somewhere else, and I've come to terms with this in my own brain, right, as I'm processing all this information too, just like you all, I'm processing it. Our kids, whether it's the old Patrick Henry or another building, they're going to have to transition somewhere else while we're building, right? So now I've come to terms with that. So I know whether it's just going to it's going to be a different group of kids. It's either going to be kids next year or kids 3 years from now. We're going to have to do that. And there's no way out of that. I would have a different perspective and a different argument if we could build a school while kids were in this building. I would have a totally different perspective. But because that's not possible, I know whether it's next year or 3 years from now, we're going to have to move the students out of this building somewhere while we're building a new Douglas MacArthur. And that really is, either we do it next year to move kids, or we move kids 3 years from now, and either we have a new school in 2023 or we have a new school in 2025. And I think those are the options. But either option, we're going to ensure that we're providing a safe learning environment, for our kids. So that's the only caveat I had to your comments.
Hi, I believe that this community desperately needs a new school. So I hope that you will press forward and explore this opportunity to see whether it makes sense. I haven't heard anything that makes me think that safety is an issue. So my concerns will be logistical, the efficiency of getting kids to and from school. It's going to be painful no matter when it happens. And I have no confidence that 2025, which like you said, no money's allocated for 2025. 2025 could be 2030. We have no idea. So I hope that you will look into this opportunity and see if it makes sense.
I guess I say thank you all for your time. Really, genuinely, I do thank you for your time, and thank you all for being so transparent with us, because the only way we're going to get this kind of feedback is by parents being open, one, showing up and just giving us your thoughts. And we still have a survey. I know that you all put that up for people to respond. They can take the survey. We're going to be taking all of this information into consideration as we make a final recommendation to the board in the next couple of weeks. All right, so thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.